So you think she's more pragmatic than
Oh,
people?
I know she's pragmatic. Just wait.
Former Democratic Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid appeared to accidentally give away the fact that Elizabeth Warren is not as progressive as she claims to be. So this was during an interview with David Axelrod on CNN's The Axe Files, where he was asked about Elizabeth Warren.
Democrats, that she is too far left.
I think that's, let's just wait. For example, Medicare-For-All, I asked me, how do you feel about that? I said, I think what we need to do first is let's make sure Obamacare is strengthened again. Republicans have done everything they can to hurt it. Let's strengthen it. We almost got the public option the first time. That's as good as Medicare-For-All anyway. And so
That's not what she's saying, though.
well, but I think you give her some time. I think that she's not in love with that. I think you'll wait and see how that all turns out.
So you think she's more pragmatic than
Oh,
people?
I know she's pragmatic. Just wait.
All right. This does not look good on Elizabeth Warren. Harry Reid obviously knows Elizabeth Warren a lot better than you or I do, and he seems to think that she is not this progressive champion that she claims to be, but in fact that she will give in on Medicare for all. And look, Reid's politics are obviously a little dated. He seems to think the public option is just as good as Medicare for all. I've done a number of videos showing you why it's not, why experts say it's not. Under a public option system, what could happen is the private insurance companies could simply bankrupt the public option, have health care for, the healthiest people in the country, offset all the sick people onto the public system, drain the public system of resources, and continue to push for corporate interests within the healthcare industry. You have to move to a Medicare for all system. You have to make it illegal for private insurance companies to duplicate healthcare coverage. That is the only way you get those corporate interests out of the system and actually have a system that not only serves, every regular average person, every average American, but also your politicians and the wealthiest people in the country would also be on the Medicare for all system, showing you that it would have to be a solid system if people that are representing you in Washington and the wealthiest people in the country are also using the same healthcare system. So, yeah, Reid's politics are just completely off here, but he seems to think that Warren's thoughts are similar to his. Now, before I go any further here on other examples of how Warren has wavered on Medicare for all, let me just completely dispel the crap around this idea that Medicare for all is too far left. You always hear that, Medicare for all, too far left. If it's so far left, then why does poll after poll after poll show you that the vast majority of Americans are in favor of Medicare for all? So just to give you a few examples here, you can look up the polls yourself, but here are a few examples. This Morning Consult poll from July, majority backs Medicare for all, replacing private plans if preferred providers stay. This from Real Clear Politics from May. Do you support or oppose Medicare for all, which is a system where all Americans, not just older ones, get health care insurance through the government's Medicare system? 65% overall support. This from The Hill, Harris X. Do you support Medicare for all? 70% of Americans support it. Break the numbers down further. 92% of Democrats support it. And even 52% of Republicans support Medicare for all. So, enough with the crap. Medicare for all is not far left. It is a proposal that the majority of Americans support. All the data is there. Now, on Warren here, so look, this has been sort of the big question with Elizabeth Warren during this campaign, especially Medicare for all. So, generally she's kind of been all over the place on terms of what she supports. She has some solid proposals, but the question has never really been as much about her proposals as it has been about will she actually fight for the things that she is proposing. You saw in 2016, Bernie Sanders waited to see if Elizabeth Warren would challenge Hillary Clinton. Warren was afraid to challenge the Clinton machine. She didn't. So Bernie Sanders went in and challenged her. Warren, in almost every step of the way, has not shown a willingness to actually fight back against powerful. And not just, she hasn't in terms of, Wall Street really is the only a case where she has actually shown some fight, but in every other instance, and especially when it comes to the Democratic Party establishment, she has not shown a willingness to actually fight back, to actually fight for people and fight for the plans and progressive proposals that she is sometimes in support of. So when we're looking at Medicare for All, I mean, there are a couple examples here I want to show you why I don't trust her on this issue in particular. There's this actually very revealing piece in Politico that came out today. This headline here: when Elizabeth Warren ducked and dodged on Medicare for All, no, she told a TV host when asked if she backed single payer in her 2012 Senate campaign. Quote, "It was frustrating." Tura Turnbull, former executive director of MassCare, a single payer advocacy group in Warren's home state of Massachusetts, said of her comments in the 2012 race. Quote, "There were multiple times where we would approach her, and that was the standard response." Warren's refusal to embrace single payer during that campaign came 4 years after she co-wrote an essay that called it the most obvious solution to the nation's healthcare woes, though perhaps, quote, politically unacceptable. So this right here, I think, is the most revealing piece. Elizabeth Warren herself, even though she said she supported single payer, she called it politically unacceptable. But a fighter doesn't care about that. They fight for what they know is right. Even if they think something is politically unacceptable, if they know it is the correct thing to do, like morally it's the right thing to do, but also just in terms of how to help people, how to deliver healthcare the way that it should be delivered. If you actually believed in Medicare for All, you would fight for it and make the case publicly instead of calling it politically unacceptable and avoid questions or say no when you're asked about if you support it. So Elizabeth Warren is not a fighter. She'll go where the wind takes her. And this is, look, I like Warren generally. I think she is, a good candidate if you didn't have somebody in the race who you know will actually fight for you. Bernie Sanders has shown again and again that he will fight, that he's not afraid of, for example, the Clinton machine, or not afraid of Amazon, not afraid of Walmart, not afraid of the healthcare industry. He has fought every step of the way. He is the one that has led the way for Elizabeth Warren to even be able to take many of the positions that she's now taking. And even those positions that she is taking and her proposals do not go as far as Bernie's do. Now, on top of that, you also have the potential interests of her daughter in this whole healthcare situation. So this from Jacobin. Elizabeth Warren's daughter, Amelia Tiaki, with whom she has co-authored 2 best-selling books, has come a long way from her mom's humble Oklahoma origins. Tiaki is now a founder and CEO of a consultancy called the Business Talent Group. Like Mayor Pete Buttigieg, she's also worked as a consultant for McKinsey, a secretive consulting firm that has been rightly blamed for some of the worst miseries of working life at many major corporations. Journalist Duff McDonald, who wrote a book about the company, said McKinsey might be, quote, the single greatest legitimizer of mass layoffs. Tiagi also co-founded Health Allies, a venture capital-backed health benefits firm, which was eventually acquired by United Health Group. It makes you wonder, how likely is Warren to go all in for Medicare for All, a reform deeply opposed by most of the health insurance industry, when someone so close to her, an intellectual partner and colleague as well as a daughter, has been a healthcare profiteer and still works as a management consultant to corporate America. So, there you go. You put this all together. Harry Reid, who knows Warren well, doesn't think she'll fight for Medicare for All. You listen to Warren's own words, waffling on Medicare for All whenever she's asked about it in the press. And you look at her daughter here, and also in terms of Warren's history in not fighting for Medicare for All, or at least not advocating for it when she could have been. Put this all together, it shows you that Elizabeth Warren is not a fighter. And especially if you care about the issue of Medicare for All and you want Medicare for All, Elizabeth Warren is not your candidate.